welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to another video and welcome back to another unhaul. I'm very proud of myself. I've been doing these quite a lot lately. But this one, first of all, it needed to happen because I unhauled a ton of books before I added more, but I'm moving. And so I needed to unhaul a little bit more to make myself feel a little bit better about all of the books that I packed in boxes because it's a lot of boxes. It's a lot of boxes, and as you can see, I'm not fully packed because I needed a filming space. So yeah. I don't know how this happened, but I do. But now it's time to get rid of some books. Some of these I've read, some of these I haven't. I think it's a good mix of both, actually. I think it's pretty even on the ones I've read and the ones I haven't. So we'll go ahead and get into it. Let me know down below if you read any of these. If there's any that I am unhauling that I haven't read that you think that I should really 100% give these books a chance because I'm missing out on something, feel free to let me know. But without further ado, let's get into the unhaul. So I think I'm going to start with the books that I have read just because I have a little bit more of a understanding of why I'm unhauling them, and then the other ones will just breeze on past. So the first book that I'm actually going to talk about is Would Like to Meet by Rachel Winter. This was a book that I read last month for the Fall Into Reading-a-thon, and I just thought it was a meh romance. It was okay. It wasn't anything stellar or fantastic or the best thing I've ever read, so I don't see myself rereading it. I don't need to keep it. I think it's a cute cover, has a nice spine, fits very well on a rainbow shelf, but if I'm never going to reread it, what's the point? So I'm unhauling this one. Up next, this one was a bit tough for me to try to figure out whether or not I wanted to keep it, and that is Heroine by Mindy McGinnis. And the only reason why I found it so tough to let go of is because I really liked this book. I thought that it was really well done, but it was a very hard read, and I don't see myself ever mustering up the courage to reread this book ever again. And I like to keep books on my shelves that I think that I'm going to reread or are all-time favorites that have some impact in my life. And as much as I love this book, and as much as I think that it needed to be told and needed to be written, especially for a younger audience, I don't see myself ever rereading this, so I am going to let this one go. This one, I explained it multiple times recently because I read it recently, but this one follows a young girl named Mickey who is a softball player who gets in a car accident and totally messes up her hip, and while in rehabilitation, she gets prescribed oxycodone, which she then gets addicted to and then moves on to heroin. And it's a book about addiction and the spirals of that and the lengths that people will go to get what they feel like they need. So it was, like I said, a very hard book to read, but I'm glad I read it. I just don't see myself needing to keep it. The next two books are also books that I've read recently over the last month, so you'll see them in my wrap-up. But On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, I read this one, and I thought that it was beautifully well written and really nice prose and a lot of beautiful metaphor. Did I understand it? No. It was just a little bit too smart for me, and there wasn't a lot of understanding going on in his metaphorical, beautiful, flowery writing. The story was very lackluster for me just because I'm not a solely character-driven person. I like to have a character-driven book with a little bit of plot, and this just didn't seem to have that. It was very jumpy. It wasn't a linear timeline being followed in this book, and it just didn't work for me. I gave it a 3-star. I think that it has a lot of merit, and that somebody that likes this type of writing style and these type of books will probably really enjoy this one. It just didn't work out for me. We honestly don't have to talk about this book too much at all, and that is The One by Kira Cass. I'm so happy to be getting rid of this and getting this off my shelf. I want zero to do with Kira Cass from here on out. I didn't like this series objectively. First book I gave 3 stars, low 3 stars. Second one was a 2-star, and this one was again a low 3-star. This was the best book in the series, but not enough for me to ever reread it. Not enough for me to read the spin-off series. Not enough to keep it. It's gotta go. Okay, the next 3 books I'm going to talk about are a series that I decided I'm going to get rid of. It was nice to do a reread of them. They have a special place in my heart. They are from most people's childhood, but I just don't need to keep them on my shelves, and that is the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. Again, this has a lot of merit in my life and a lot of nostalgic value, and I think that is the case for a lot of people, but when I think back on wanting to keep things on my shelf that I absolutely love, this just isn't it, and I need space for more books that I'm bringing in and potentially absolutely love, so if I can save the space by getting rid of these, I will do so. If I ever want to reread them, I can pick up an audiobook or an ebook, but I don't need to have physical copies on my shelf, so I'm gonna let these ones go. I'm also going to get rid of A Walk to Remember by Nicholas Sparks. I do have some more Nicholas Sparks books in this stack, so don't worry, they're coming. But this is one that I have read, and I really love this book. I love this movie. This movie is one of my favorite movies from growing up, and I love the book just as much. It's very different from the movie, but I think that the book has its own beauty in its own way, and I really enjoyed it. It made me cry, made me sob. It was very, very well done. But I just don't see myself ever rereading this, so again, why am I keeping it? But I highly recommend this one as one of my favorite Nicholas Sparks books. I think that if you ever get a chance to read it, you should. It's pretty short, so it's a good read. Okay, the next books that I'm getting rid of definitely saved me a lot of space on my shelves because these are chunky books. But again, beloved series from my childhood. I don't need these. Does anyone want to make a guess? Take a stab at it? I'll give you some time. Just take a guess. Just take a guess. Twilight. It's gotta go. I don't ever plan on rereading these. These are chunky books that played a very special role in my life when I was younger, and I enjoyed my reread. I'm not gonna lie, it was a fun time. The movies are always fun to watch back and laugh at them because they are just terrible, but I just don't see myself ever rereading these, and I don't need to keep them on my shelves for nostalgic value, so I'm gonna let these ones go. And you know what? I think I'm happy with it. I'm happy with my decision. And if I ever want to reread them, audiobooks are the way to go. I still own Midnight Sun, and I will still read that one at some point, but this just isn't a need for me. Alright, another one that I have read and I'm unhauling is The Upside of Falling by Alex Light. This was originally a Wattpad book and was traditionally published. I actually enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 stars. It's a fake dating romance, high school romance, and I thought it was cute and wholesome, and it had some interesting conversations about parental roles and cheating and interesting things like that. It's been a little while since I've read this one, but I remember really enjoying it. I thought the conversations were done really nicely. I liked the romance. I thought it was cute. But again, I don't see myself rereading this one. I'm actually going to give this one over to a friend, Mike, so that he can take a stab at it and read it. I think that he'll enjoy it, so I really enjoyed it. It was cute. I recommend it if you are in the mood for a fake dating YA contemporary. Great way to go. I just don't need to keep it. Alright, here's another Nicholas Sparks, and that is The Last Song. I read this for the Spring Into Reading-a-thon for 2020, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought that it was a wonderful book. It very much follows the movie, which I also really enjoyed, and I sobbed like a baby. If you want to see me cry, you can definitely go back and watch those vlogs. It brought me to actual, real, sobbing crybaby tears. But I really enjoyed it. I think that it's a really great Nicholas Sparks book. And it was very true to the movie, which is a movie that I really, really enjoy and still watch to this day and cry like a baby. So, yeah, not much to say about this. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was very well done. I just don't need to reread it. And the last book that we're going to talk about that's actually going to lead me into books that I haven't read is the 9th book in the series of Unfortunate Events series, The Carnivorous Carnival by Lemony Snicket. I read this one this past month, and I decided that I'm going to DNF this series, not because I don't think the books are good, I just don't think they're meant for me, and I'm not really enjoying my reading experience of these, so I decided that I'm going to DNF the series and unhaul the rest of the books that I own, just because it's not a fun time for me anymore. When I did my 24-hour readathon, it was fun because it was in the moment and I was binge reading them all and it made sense. But coming back to this series just made me realize how much I'm not enjoying my time. So I read this one. I gave it a 3-star. I think that for kids, this is fantastic. In this age range, it's just totally a book for them. It just is not a book for me, so I'm going to get rid of them. That being said, I'm also going to get rid of books 10 through 13. Okay, this one pains me. It actually hurts my soul. But I think it's time. I'm never going to read it. As much as I want to tell myself that I am, and I want to make my grandma happy by telling her, yes, I'm going to read this, it's just not going to happen. And that is The Wedding by Danielle Steele. I've had this on so many TBRs, and I've just never gotten around to reading it. Mostly because it doesn't spark my interest. I did read about half of this book when my grandma first gave it to me, and I never picked it back up. It's not the type of story for me, honestly. I don't think that her books really pull me in or excite me. I don't even actually know what the storyline of this is because I lost the dust jacket. So I'm going to give this back to my grandma, see if she wants it. If not, then I will give it to the bookstore, but this is just not a book that I need to keep. If I do these all in one fell swoop, I think that it'll cut this video down by quite a bit. And that is Nicholas Sparks. That was fun. These are all of the Nicholas Sparks books that I haven't read and don't see myself ever reading. I think that Nicholas Sparks is a fun book writer to pick up when you need something quick and easy and light. However, I have so many other books that I can pick up that are quick and easy and light that I'm more drawn to, more excited about, more willing to spend my time reading. So in all actuality, I really don't need all of these, and I don't see myself ever being drawn to them during my TBR bingo games to actually read them, unless it was like a random number generator and I had no other choice. So that being said, I don't think that's a good enough reason to keep them. I think that Nicholas Sparks is a great writer, and I like his stories. I'm just not going to keep them on my shelf. So I'm going to quickly run through these, and then we'll run through the rest. So we have At First Sight, The Lucky One, Safe Haven, Dear John, See Me, The Notebook, and The Guardian. All right, moving on to the rest of the ones I have here. I have the Effort List by Julie Harpin. I don't know. This was a book that I actually picked up at the bookstore, not necessarily because I loved the description or the synopsis of this book. It was just because when I was at the bookstore, I saw this, and I saw that somebody had written their own bucket list in this book and left it in here. And the fact that she was extremely compelled to write a bucket list after reading this book, I was like, maybe I will be compelled to write a bucket list after reading this book, but I don't give a fuck. That was a terrible joke. I'm so sorry. You can unsubscribe. I understand. But yeah, first of all, this person, I'm not going to show like the actual thing, but their like writing is so pretty. Oh my gosh. I love their writing. I wish I could write like that, but they had like a full-on 3-page bucket list. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll like it, but I just don't care enough to want to pick this up. I think it has to do with somebody that has cancer and she wants to do all the things that she can before she dies. And I just read too many books like that and I don't need this one. So I'm going to let it go. All right, then we have Tart by Lauren Dane. It's a delicious novel, apparently. I got rid of this because I thought that I unhauled this months ago. And I was going through my shelves and I'm like, wait, I still have this? What the heck? So yeah, I just don't have any interest in this interesting smutty novel. There are so many better smutty books that I have found through other means of exploration that I just don't need this one. So I'm gonna let it go. All right, another book that I picked up due to the bookstore shopping experience, the hype in the bookstore, and that is Homegoing. No, what is this? Firefly Lane. My gosh, Homegoing? It's not even close. Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. Everyone loves Kristen Hanna. They think that she's the best. And I was gonna try some of her stuff that wasn't historical fiction because you know how I feel about historical fiction. But y'all, I just don't care. I'm never gonna read this. Like, never. I'm just never gonna read it. I don't read a ton of adult contemporary books to begin with. So this is just isn't what I'm drawn to. So the ones that I keep on my shelves, I really want to be excited about. And I don't even know what this is about. So why am I keeping it? I'm not. Up next, we have Bad Romance by Heather Demetrios. I don't know what this is about. Before I break up with you, I want to reflect. I want to go back to the piece by piece. Oh man, now that sounds good. Maybe I do want to keep it. No, I don't need it. I don't need it. I've had this on my shelves for a very, very long time. This was a book that I saw coming and I was like, you know what? The cover is stunning. I need it. No, I don't. I had never heard of it. I'd never heard anybody talk about it. I've never heard anybody mention this on BookTube. And I just don't need books that I'm not overly excited about. So I'm going to let this one go as well. Then we have Where Did You Go, Bernadette? This is an ARC. And again, the same thing applies with this one that it did with Firefly Lane. I just don't read enough adult contemporary to be pulled in by the story. I think this has to do with a mother that disappeared, and it follows the mother's daughter that is going back through her life trying to figure out why her mother left. And I'm sure that's going to be very heartwarming and heartfelt and cute. I just don't care. So I'm going to let it go. Same thing goes with Eleanor Oliphant. It's completely fine. I just don't care. I'm letting it go. I got rid of one more Jodi Picoult book. If you watched my last unhaul, I also unhauled a Jodi Picoult book in that video, but I only am keeping one now, one that I've heard really great things about, one that my old coworker always recommended and said was one of her favorite Jodi Picoult books, and that was Small Great Things, but I just don't care enough to keep Picture Perfect. Her books are long, and I just don't feel like they're worth the reading experience, so I don't need this one. And finally, the last book that I have on here is The Night Tiger by Yangzi Chu, or Cho. This was one that I picked up a long time ago when I first started working at the bookstore, and I think I picked it up because I liked the cover, but this is historical fiction. I don't know why I held on to it for so long because I don't read historical fiction. I'm never drawn to it. I never want to read it, so I don't know why I continue to keep this on my shelf. I think that I've heard really good things about this one, and at one point I wanted to just push myself to read some historical fiction, but if it's just going to sit on my shelf with the 500 other TBR books, and I don't ever want to pick it up, it doesn't need to be here. So this is the last book that I'm unhauling. Okay, let me know if you have read any of these down in the comments below. I would love to know your thoughts. If there's any that you think that I absolutely need to read, let me know. I'll probably have gotten rid of these by the time the video goes up, but I can always pick them up on ebook or audiobook. If you really think that I need to experience that story, I would be happy to take those recommendations. But as for keeping them on my physical TBR, they don't need to be here. But that is the end of this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And of course, leave any comments, questions, and suggestions in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye. Thanks, baby. Turn it down like a sweet and ready. Boss, keep it nice and steady. Know that you've been keeping